Put the handcuffs back on him. Judge Harold Morrison's voice cut through the courtroom like a blade, and Petty Officer First Class Andre Washington felt his stomach drop. The bailiff stepped forward with the metal restraints, and Andre could hear his lawyer muttering under his breath. "Your Honor," Attorney Lisa Chun said, standing up quickly, "my client is a decorated Navy SEAL with no prior criminal record. These charges are completely... Ms. Chun, your client is accused of assault and battery. He's demonstrated he's dangerous, and I won't have him loose in my courtroom." Judge Morrison banged his gavel. "Bailiff, restrain the defendant." Andre held out his hands, trying to keep his face neutral as the cold metal clicked around his wrists. Behind him, he could hear his wife Sarah crying softly. 3 months ago, he'd been on a classified mission overseas. Now he was standing in a Georgia courthouse, handcuffed like a common criminal. All because he'd defended a teenage girl from 3 drunk college kids outside a gas station. "This is ridiculous," whispered his mother from the gallery. "Andre's never hurt anybody who didn't deserve it." The prosecutor, District Attorney James Fletcher, was loving every second of this. He stood up with a smirk that made Andre want to break something. "Your Honor, the defendant may have military training, but that doesn't give him the right to brutally attack 3 young men who were simply having a good time." "Having a good time?" Andre's lawyer shot back. "They were trying to drag a 16-year-old girl into their car." "Allegedly," Fletcher said smoothly. "What we know for certain is that my clients are hospitalized with broken bones, and the defendant used excessive force." Andre clenched his jaw. Those young men had been 20-something rich kids who'd cornered a teenage girl at a gas station at 11 p.m. When Andre stopped to get gas after his shift at the base, he'd seen them grab her, heard her screaming for help. What was he supposed to do? Walk away? "Your Honor," his lawyer tried again. Petty Officer Washington intervened to protect a minor from sexual assault. The use of force was justified. The use of force was excessive. Fletcher interrupted. "These are good kids from prominent families. Honor students. They made a mistake, but they didn't deserve to be attacked by someone with military combat training." Andre wanted to laugh. Good kids? Honor students? One of them had a switchblade. Another had tried to hit him with a beer bottle. The third one had been literally dragging the girl toward their car while she screamed. But in court, somehow they were the victims. "Mr. Washington," Judge Morrison said, looking down at Andre like he was something stuck to his shoe, "I've reviewed your military record. Very impressive. Multiple deployments, commendations, specialized training."
Andre nodded.
"Yes, Your Honor, which makes your behavior even more inexcusable. You're trained to be a weapon, and you used that training against civilians. I used my training to protect someone who couldn't protect herself. You put 3 young men in the hospital." Andre's lawyer put a hand on his arm, warning him to stay quiet. But Andre was done being quiet. "Your Honor, with respect, those 3 young men were committing a felony. They had a knife. They were drunk. They were trying to kidnap a 16-year-old girl." "Allegedly." "No, sir, not allegedly. I saw it happen. I have video evidence from my phone." Fletcher jumped up. "Objection. That evidence hasn't been admitted. Because you've been blocking its admission for 3 months." Andre's lawyer fired back. Judge Morrison banged his gavel. "Enough. Mr. Washington, I don't care what you think you saw. 3 young men are hospitalized because you decided to play vigilante." Andre felt the handcuffs cutting into his wrists. This whole thing was insane. He'd served his country for 8 years. He'd been shot at in Afghanistan, conducted rescue missions in hostile territory, saved American lives in places most people couldn't pronounce. And now he was being treated like a criminal for stopping a sexual assault. "Your Honor," Andre said quietly, "I took an oath to protect people who can't protect themselves. That oath doesn't stop working when I'm off duty. Your oath is to follow orders and obey the law." Vigilante justice isn't the law. Neither is letting rapists walk free because their daddies have money. The courtroom erupted. Fletcher was shouting objections, Andre's lawyer was trying to calm him down, and Judge Morrison was banging his gavel like he was trying to break it. "That's enough," Morrison yelled. "Mr. Washington, you're in contempt of court." "Bailiff, remove him to holding until..." That's when the courtroom doors opened. Everyone turned to look, and the whole room went dead silent. Walking through the doors was a man in army dress uniform with more ribbons on his chest than most people had ever seen. For stars gleamed on his shoulders, and everything about his bearing screamed command authority. General Michael Harrison, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Andre's eyes went wide. He'd seen the general on TV in briefings but never in person. What the hell was he doing in a Georgia courthouse? "Excuse me," General Harrison said, his voice calm but carrying absolute authority. "I'm looking for Petty Officer Andre Washington." Judge Morrison looked like he'd seen a ghost. "General, Your Honor, I mean..." "General Harrison will be fine." The general's eyes swept the courtroom and landed on Andre, still handcuffed at the defendant's table. "Petty Officer Washington, I presume." Andre snapped to attention as much as he could with his hands cuffed. "Yes, sir." General Harrison walked down the aisle, and Andre noticed that every person in the courtroom, including the judge, was unconsciously straightening up. This was a man who commanded respect just by existing. "Petty Officer, I understand you're facing some legal difficulties." "Yes, sir." The general turned to Judge Morrison. "Your Honor, I wonder if I might have a word with you privately about this case." Morrison looked confused and intimidated. "General, I appreciate your interest, but this is a civilian court matter." "Judge Morrison," General Harrison's voice didn't get louder, but somehow it filled the entire courtroom. "I'm not here in any official capacity. I'm here as someone who's taken a personal interest in this case." "I don't understand." General Harrison pulled out a folder from his briefcase. 3 months ago, Petty Officer Washington was involved in an incident outside a gas station. The local police filed a report. That report was also filed with Naval Intelligence, as is standard procedure for any legal issues involving active duty SEAL personnel. He opened the folder. "Judge Morrison, have you reviewed the gas station security footage?" Morrison looked uncomfortable. "The prosecution has provided all relevant evidence." "That's not what I asked. Have you personally reviewed the security footage from that night?" Well, no. I've relied on the prosecution's summary." "I see." General Harrison looked at Fletcher. "Mr. Fletcher, why hasn't the defense been allowed to present the security footage?" Fletcher was sweating now. "Your Honor, we object to this irregular." "Mr. Fletcher," the general's voice was ice cold, "I asked you a direct question. Why hasn't the defense been allowed to present video evidence of the incident?" "There are technical issues with the footage quality." "Technical issues?" General Harrison reached into his briefcase again and pulled out a tablet. "Mr. Fletcher, would you say that Naval Intelligence has good technical capabilities?" Yes, sir." "Good, because Naval Intelligence enhanced the footage. Would you like to see what they found?" The courtroom was so quiet you could hear people breathing. General Harrison connected his tablet to the courtroom's display system. "This is the gas station security footage from the night in question, enhanced by the best technical analysts in the military." The video started playing on the main screen. Everyone could see 3 college-aged men cornering a teenage girl by their car. You could see her trying to get away. You could see one of them grab her arm. You could see another one pull out what was clearly a knife. Then Andre appeared in the frame. "As you can see," General Harrison narrated calmly, "Petty Officer Washington approaches and attempts to defuse the situation verbally. Watch here. He's clearly talking, trying to resolve this peacefully." On screen, Andre was holding his hands up, obviously trying to negotiate. And here, the general continued, is where one of the victims attacks Petty Officer Washington with a knife. You could see it clear as day. The college kid lunged at Andre with the blade. What happened next was like watching a masterclass in combat. Andre disarmed the attacker in 2 moves, controlled the second man who tried to hit him with a bottle, and restrained the third who was still holding the girl. The whole thing took less than 30 seconds. As you can see, Your Honor, Petty Officer Washington used the minimum force necessary to neutralize 3 armed attackers and protect a minor from sexual assault. Judge Morrison was staring at the screen like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Furthermore, General Harrison continued, Naval Intelligence has identified the 3 attackers. Mr. Fletcher, would you like to know what we found? Fletcher looked like he wanted to disappear. The 3 men have been arrested twice before for similar incidents at other colleges. They've been accused of sexual assault 4 times, but charges were dropped due to their family's influence. They were specifically targeting young women that night. The gas station footage shows them following 3 different girls before they cornered this particular victim. The general turned to face Fletcher directly. Mr. Fletcher, you've been prosecuting the wrong person. Andre's lawyer was frantically taking notes. His wife was crying with relief. His mother was shouting, I told you so, from the gallery. But General Harrison wasn't done. Judge Morrison, I need to share something else with you. 3 weeks ago, Petty Officer Washington was recommended for the Navy Cross for actions during a classified mission overseas. The Navy Cross, Your Honor, is the 2nd highest decoration for valor in combat. Andre's eyes went wide. He hadn't heard anything about a Navy Cross. While Petty Officer Washington was sitting in your jail cell, the President of the United States signed off on that recommendation. He's a hero, Judge Morrison. A genuine American hero who risked his life to save others. General Harrison looked around the courtroom. And instead of being honored for his service, he's been handcuffed and treated like a criminal for doing exactly what we trained him to do. Protect innocent people from predators. Judge Morrison was pale as a sheet. General, I had no idea. No, you didn't. Because you made assumptions based on what the prosecution told you instead of looking at the evidence yourself. The general walked over to Andre. Petty Officer, I'm going to need those handcuffs removed. General, Morrison stammered. I'm not sure I have the authority. Judge Morrison. General Harrison's voice was deadly quiet. Those handcuffs come off right now, or I make some phone calls that will ensure this case is reviewed by people who outrank everyone in this room. The bailiff looked at the judge, who nodded quickly. The handcuffs came off. Andre rubbed his wrists, hardly believing what was happening. Petty Officer, General Harrison said, I owe you an apology on behalf of the system that failed you. This should never have happened. Sir, how did you even know about this case? General Harrison smiled. Your commanding officer sent a report up the chain. When Navy SEALs get arrested, we pay attention. When the circumstances seemed questionable, I decided to take a personal interest. He turned back to the judge. Your Honor, I trust this case will be dismissed immediately? Judge Morrison was nodding so fast his head looked like it might fall off. Yes, absolutely. All charges dismissed. Mr. Washington, I apologize for. Judge Morrison, General Harrison interrupted. I think Mr. Fletcher has some explaining to do about why evidence was suppressed and why he was prosecuting a decorated war hero for protecting a sexual assault victim. Fletcher was gathering his papers, trying to escape. General, I was just doing my job. No, Mr. Fletcher. Your job is to seek justice, not to protect criminals because their families have money. General Harrison pulled out his phone. I'm calling the State Attorney General's office. I think they'll be very interested in reviewing how this case was handled. As Fletcher rushed out of the courtroom, Andre felt like he was in a dream. General, he said quietly, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me, son. You did your job. You protected someone who couldn't protect herself. That's what warriors do. General Harrison shook Andre's hand. The Navy Cross ceremony is in 3 weeks at the Pentagon. I'll be presenting it personally. As the courtroom cleared out, Andre found himself surrounded by his family, his lawyer, and a few reporters who'd somehow gotten wind of the story. But the moment that mattered most was when the teenage girl he'd protected, Maya Rodriguez, approached him with her parents. "Mr. Washington," she said, tears streaming down her face, "I heard about what happened to you. I'm so sorry. Maya, you don't have anything to apologize for." "Yes, I do. You saved me and then you got arrested for it. That's not fair." Andre knelt down to her level. "Maya, listen to me. What happened in that courtroom doesn't matter. What matters is that you're safe. That's all that matters." Maya's father stepped forward. "Mr. Washington, my daughter has been having nightmares for 3 months. Not about that night, about you being in jail because you helped her." "Sir, no, let me finish. Today, she can sleep better knowing that good people don't get punished for doing good things." 3 weeks later, Andre stood in the Pentagon wearing his dress blues as General Harrison pinned the Navy Cross to his chest. The citation read, "For extraordinary heroism in combat operations against enemy forces, displaying courage under fire and devotion to duty that reflects the highest traditions of the United States Navy." But Andre was thinking about another kind of heroism. The heroism of standing up for what's right even when the system is against you. The heroism of protecting people who can't protect themselves, even when it costs you everything. After the ceremony, General Harrison pulled Andre aside. "Son, I want you to know something. That case in Georgia wasn't an accident. There are people who don't want warriors like you coming home and continuing to fight for justice. Sir, the prosecutor, the judge, the families of those 3 men, they're all connected. Old money, old power, old ways of making problems disappear." Andre felt a chill. "Are you saying this was targeted?" "I'm saying you represented a threat to people who think they're above the law. A decorated black Navy SEAL who intervened in their children's crimes? That couldn't be allowed to stand." General Harrison put his hand on Andre's shoulder. "But here's what they didn't count on. They didn't count on you having brothers and sisters in the military who watch out for each other. They didn't count on people like me who believe that a hero is a hero, regardless of color or background. General, what happens now? Now you go back to doing what you do best. Protecting people who need protecting. And if anyone tries to mess with you again, they'll have to go through all of us first." As Andre drove home that evening, his Navy Cross in a box on the passenger seat, he thought about the journey from that gas station to this moment. He'd learned that doing the right thing doesn't always lead to immediate justice, that the system isn't always fair, that sometimes good people get punished for good deeds. But he'd also learned that there are other good people out there, people who will stand up for what's right when it matters most. People who understand that true strength means protecting those who can't protect themselves. And sometimes, when the system fails, those people have enough power to set things right. The handcuffs were gone. The charges were dismissed. Justice had been served. But most importantly, Maya Rodriguez was safe. And that, Andre realized, was what made everything else worth it. Because in the end, that's what heroes do. They protect people. They stand up for what's right, and they never, ever give up, even when the whole world seems to be against them. This message could change someone's day or life. If it spoke to you, don't scroll away. Like it, share it, and subscribe right now. Let's make impact.